Steel between stars. The first strike. The sky above Earth was no longer blue. The stars had begun to flicker, dimming as massive alien ships descended from the dark abyss of space. They arrived in waves, filling the heavens with shadows. Earth's military responded instantly, launching counterattacks from every base, every station. But it was hopeless. The invaders were a swarm, thousands, no, millions of ships, each one a deadly vessel. They didn't fight like humans. There was no strategy, no hesitation. Just pure, calculated destruction. And they weren't just after Earth's military. They wanted something deeper, something buried within the heart of humanity. Marcus Vorn, a seasoned soldier and decorated war hero, stood among the chaos. His tactical suit clung to him like a second skin, humming with energy as it calibrated his vitals. Around him, the battlefield was a blur of explosions, gunfire, and the scream of torn metal. His team was pushing forward, trying to break the enemy's defense, but the hive-minded invaders were too strong. Their movements were synchronized, every strike deliberate and precise. Push forward. We take that command center, or we all die. Marcus shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. His soldiers responded with a unified yell, pushing their way toward the heart of the enemy's attack. His boots hit the ground hard as he charged forward, his rifle raised and ready. The alien creatures in front of him were monstrous, six-legged, insectoid beings with exoskeletons that shimmered in the dim light. Their eyes glowed an unnatural green, their minds connected by a single unseen force. Marcus fired. His shots were precise, tearing through the invaders with deadly accuracy. He moved with calculated steps, a machine of war, leading his team deeper into enemy lines. As the team pushed forward, a strange sensation washed over Marcus. His heartbeat, normally steady, began to race. His vision blurred for a split second, but he shook it off. "Focus, Vorn," he muttered to himself. They reached the command center, the central hub of the invaders' control. It was a massive structure, shaped like a jagged spire, pulsing with a strange energy. Marcus's instincts screamed that something was wrong. He felt an unnatural pull toward it, an inexplicable connection. "We've got company," shouted Sergeant Diaz, snapping Marcus back to reality. Marcus turned just in time to see a swarm of alien warriors rushing toward them. His team opened fire, but the invaders kept coming, relentless in their assault. The soldiers fell one by one, each shot met with another wave of enemy troops. Marcus fought with everything he had, but the battle was turning. They were losing. Then, in the midst of the chaos, he saw it. A single alien warrior, wounded and dying, staggered toward him. Blood, if it could be called blood, dripped from the creature's body, its limbs twitching. With what little strength it had left, the creature raised its arm, pointing at Marcus. You are the one," it hissed, its voice rasping. Marcus was taken aback. "What do you mean?" The alien's mouth gaped open as it struggled to speak. Your blood is the key, the only way to defeat us, but it comes at a cost." Marcus's mind raced. The enemy knew something about him. But what? Before Marcus could ask another question, the alien collapsed, its body disintegrating into dust. His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden flash of pain in his chest, a sharp, burning sensation that made him gasp. He clutched at his side, his fingers trembling as he tried to steady himself. The pain spread through his veins, like fire burning through his blood. Something was wrong. He could feel it. "Vorn, get it together," Sergeant Diaz shouted, pulling him from his daze. The battlefield was falling apart. His team was retreating, but the invaders were closing in from all sides. "Retreat," Marcus barked. "Fall back." They ran, firing behind them as they retreated to the last safe position. But Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the battle wasn't over, that it was just beginning. As they made their way to the extraction point, Marcus felt a strange weight pressing on his chest, like a secret buried deep inside him was waking up. He didn't know what it meant, but he knew one thing. The alien warrior had spoken the truth. His blood held the key to something bigger, something dangerous. And the war was far from over. Marcus and his soldiers were finally extracted and returned to their base. But as Marcus lay on the operating table, waiting for his wounds to be patched up, he could feel the alien device embedded in his arm, pulsing. The connection was getting stronger, and with it, his power. But as much as the power excited him, it terrified him more. What was the cost of unlocking his full potential? Was he willing to pay the price? The screen above his head blinked red, an alert flashing across it. A new message appeared. The Hive is coming for you. Marcus's heart raced. The enemy wasn't just after Earth anymore. They were after him. Suddenly, everything went black. Marcus awoke, his mind groggy, disoriented. He tried to move, but his body was still weak. As he sat up, the last thing he saw was the alien device in his arm, pulsing with energy. Then, the world around him went dark again. Marcus's eyes flickered open, the harsh glow of stereo lights stabbing into his vision. His head throbbed, his body sore and heavy. He blinked a few times, trying to focus, but the world around him was a blur. His chest ached, each breath feeling shallow, as if the weight of the universe was pressing against him. He raised his hand, only to find a strange glowing mark on his skin, like an alien symbol. His pulse quickened. A figure appeared beside him, a doctor, wearing the standard white military lab coat. Her face was tense, her eyes filled with concern. "Marcus," she said, her voice low but firm. "You've been out for over a week. How are you feeling?" "Where am I?" Marcus croaked, his throat dry. "You're in a military research lab," she replied quickly, checking the readings on a nearby monitor. "We managed to stabilize you after your injuries." Marcus tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness hit him, forcing him back down. "The aliens, did they?" "Not now." The doctor cut him off, her voice urgent. "We need to talk about what happened to you. Your DNA, it's been altered." Marcus frowned. "Altered?" "Yes," she said, her eyes flicking nervously to the door as if expecting someone to overhear. "The scientists injected you with an experimental serum. It was the only way to save you. We had no choice. But now, we've discovered your blood contains a unique alien-like DNA." His mind raced. Alien DNA? That couldn't be true. Could it? He lifted his arm, noticing the strange energy pulsing beneath his skin, like a hidden current. It felt alive, different from anything he had ever experienced. "Your blood," the doctor continued, watching him closely, "can be weaponized. We've studied the invaders, this swarm of aliens, and we believe that your new abilities might give us a way to break their hive mind." Marcus shook his head, disbelief rising in his chest. "My blood." He could barely comprehend what she was saying. "How is that possible?" The doctor hesitated. "The aliens you're fighting, they're not what they seem. They were once human, just like you. They were transformed, changed, by an ancient alien technology, a technology that has been buried for centuries." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. "What are you saying? The invaders, they were human?" "Yes," she replied, her voice steady, but filled with an underlying dread. "They were part of a long-lost human colony. They stumbled upon the alien technology, and it rewired their minds, connected them into a single collective consciousness. They became a hive. They're no longer individuals. They're something else." Marcus's thoughts swirled. It didn't make sense. The invaders were ruthless, merciless. But what if they weren't always like that? What if they were humans once, like him, and something had twisted them into these monsters? The doctor reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small vial. "This serum, it was meant to save you. But it has unlocked something inside you, a connection to the hive mind." Marcus stared at the vial. "What do you want me to do with it?" "We need you to use your abilities. We need you to infiltrate the hive mind, break it down from the inside, and stop the invasion. If we can disrupt their communication, we can shut them down." Marcus clenched his fists, feeling the strange energy surge beneath his skin. The doctor was right. He could feel the power, but it came with a cost. He could feel his humanity slipping away. His emotions, his thoughts, all felt distant. The connection to the aliens was strong, and it was pulling him further away from everything he knew. As the doctor spoke, Marcus's vision began to blur, and his head throbbed. His surroundings flickered, and suddenly, he found himself standing in the middle of an unfamiliar battlefield. Alien ships hovered above, raining fire upon Earth. The ground beneath him was scorched, the sky thick with smoke and ash. He tried to move, but his legs felt heavy, as if they weren't his own. He reached out, and then he saw it, an alien figure standing tall in the distance. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light. But there was something else. The figure didn't seem like an invader. It was familiar. It was him. His own face, twisted, alien, and cold. "No," Marcus whispered, his voice breaking as the vision engulfed him. The alien version of himself raised its arm, pointing at Earth, and with a single command, the planet was consumed in a fiery explosion. Marcus gasped, his body trembling. The vision faded, leaving him breathless, sweat pouring down his face. What was that? The doctor was looking at him with concern. "Marcus, are you all right?" He didn't answer immediately. His mind was racing. Was that a glimpse into the future, or was it a warning? Could he be the one to destroy humanity? The doctor pressed her hand against his arm, pulling him back to the present. "Marcus, we don't have time for this. The enemy is closer than ever. We need you to focus." He nodded, though the doubt in his mind was growing. He was part of this fight now, but at what cost? If his blood could end this invasion, could he truly stop them without becoming like them? Marcus stood up, pushing aside the fear and confusion that threatened to overwhelm him. He didn't have the luxury of doubt anymore. The Earth was counting on him, but the price of victory, if he could even win, was becoming clearer by the second. His humanity was slipping away, and there was no turning back. As Marcus prepared to leave the lab, his vision flickered again. This time, it wasn't a future vision. It was a whisper coming from somewhere deep inside his mind. The Hive spoke, its voice chilling. "You are one of us now." The darkness of space stretched endlessly before Marcus and his squad as they approached the enemy's mothership. The massive vessel loomed ahead, its surface covered with alien markings and strange energy signatures. It was more than just a ship. It was a fortress, a symbol of the hive mind's power. But Marcus wasn't afraid. Not anymore. He had something the others didn't, an edge. His new abilities, born from his altered DNA, gave him the power to fight back like no human could. "All systems go." Marcus, the voice of his commanding officer, Captain Ralston, crackled over the comms. "We're in position. Prepare to breach." Marcus nodded, his hand tightening around the pulse rifle. The team was ready. They had one shot at this. Destroy the mothership, cripple the hive mind, and give Earth the chance to fight back. They had trained for this moment, and now it was time to strike. "On my mark," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the chaos building around him. His heart beat in time with the flashing lights inside the cockpit as they entered the mothership's atmosphere. The air inside the ship was thick with tension as the team dropped into the hangar bay. Alien drones swarmed toward them, their bodies a mix of mechanical and organic. Marcus didn't hesitate. With a surge of energy, he unleashed a shockwave of force, his hands glowing with the strange, pulsing power that now coursed through his veins. The drones exploded into pieces, their metal limbs scattering across the hangar. "Move, move," Marcus shouted. His squad followed his lead, but he could feel something creeping into his mind. A whisper, faint at first, but growing louder. The hive mind was aware of him. He could feel its presence, trying to infiltrate his thoughts. It was subtle, like a shadow passing through his consciousness, but it was there, and it was waiting. The mission proceeded as planned. They cleared the hangar, fought their way through the corridors, and planted explosives on key structural points. But with each step, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. He couldn't ignore them anymore. His powers, once a gift, felt like a curse. He could feel himself slipping, losing touch with the world around him. His connection to his team, to his humanity, was weakening. Marcus, focus. Captain Ralston's voice snapped him out of his trance. We're almost there. Stay with us. Marcus tried to shake off the feeling, but it was becoming harder. His vision blurred, and his grip on reality started to slip. The closer they got to the heart of the ship, the more the alien influence crept in. His powers surged uncontrollably, causing blasts of energy to explode from his hands, destroying anything in their path. The walls cracked and burned as the ship groaned under the strain. Fall back. Marcus heard Ralston order, but his voice was distant, like he was underwater. Marcus couldn't tell if he was hearing reality or the voices of the hive mind, twisting his perceptions. He stood frozen, staring at the heart of the mothership. His mind was a battlefield. He was no longer just fighting alien invaders. He was fighting something much worse. The hive mind was trying to take him. He could feel its tendrils reaching into his consciousness, pulling at his thoughts, erasing his memories, replacing them with new alien ideas. In that moment, Marcus realized the truth. The hive mind wasn't just controlling the aliens. It had the power to control them too. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a key to their victory, a piece of their puzzle. The power inside him, the alien DNA that had saved him, was the very thing that was now making him a target. Marcus. Ralston's voice cut through the fog in his mind. You have to make a choice. We're running out of time. Marcus blinked, his vision refocusing. His team was scattered, each one fighting for survival, but they needed him. He couldn't let them down. He couldn't let the hive mind win. With a burst of willpower, he pushed the thoughts away. He focused on the mission. The explosive charges were set, but they had to get out before the ship blew. The problem was, Marcus wasn't sure he could trust himself anymore. Every time he used his powers, it felt like a piece of his humanity slipped away. The voices in his head were getting louder, calling him to join them, to become one with the hive. His hand twitched, and for a moment, he nearly turned the power on his team, but he stopped. He couldn't. Not yet. Not until the mission was complete. Marcus, let's go. Ralston shouted, urgency in his voice. Now. Marcus snapped out of his trance, his heart racing. He turned and ran, but the moment his feet hit the ground, the voices returned, this time stronger than before. The hive mind was pushing harder, attempting to control him, to make him its puppet. His team was close, but Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He could feel the hive mind, inside his head, crawling through his thoughts. It was like a parasite, eating away at his sense of self. The closer they got to the exit, the more Marcus felt like he was losing himself. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his skull. He staggered, falling to his knees as the voice of the hive echoed in his mind. Join us, Marcus. Become one with us. Your human soul is weak. Give in. He clenched his teeth, fighting the voice, but it was becoming harder to resist. His vision blurred again, and he was back in the heart of the mothership, standing before an enormous alien structure. His hands glowed with energy, and the hive mind was reaching for him, trying to pull him into the fold. No, Marcus shouted, but his voice sounded alien, distant. He was losing himself, and he could feel the power of the hive wrapping around him like a vice. Marcus, focus. Ralston's voice cut through the fog again. This isn't you. But was it? Was he still Marcus Vorn, the soldier who had fought for humanity, Or was he becoming something else? Something alien. He stood there, torn between the two realities, the two sides of himself, his humanity and the hive mind that was trying to claim him. The choice was before him. Give in, become one of them, or fight and sever the connection, but in doing so, lose everything that made him who he was. His breath came in ragged gasps. His heart pounded. The explosion was seconds away, and his team was waiting for him. But the enemy, the true enemy, wasn't just outside, it was inside. And it was about to take him. As Marcus reached for the detonator, the voices of the hive screamed inside his mind, louder than ever. He hesitated. If he severed the connection, he would lose his identity. If he gave in, he would become part of the hive forever. The countdown on the bomb ticked down. The decision had to be made. Marcus awoke in the dark, cold silence of the military bunker. His body felt like it was on fire, each breath sharp and painful, as if his very soul was being ripped apart. He had severed the connection to the hive mind, but the price was steep. His mind, once sharp and clear, was now clouded with strange visions and unexplainable memories. Faces he didn't recognize flickered before his eyes, and whispers that didn't belong to him echoed through his thoughts. He clutched his head, trying to steady himself, but the memories surged relentlessly. Focus, he muttered to himself, forcing his breathing to steady. He had to keep moving, keep fighting. The alien threat hadn't gone away. If anything, it had grown stronger. He slowly rose from the cot, the weight of the past few days hanging heavy on his shoulders. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for the door. It was too quiet, too still. He stepped out into the corridor, the cold, sterile walls of the bunker surrounding him. It was only then that he realized how truly alone he was. The rest of the team had been pulled back after the disastrous mission. Only Marcus had stayed behind, pushing forward despite the darkness threatening to consume him. His instincts told him to keep moving, but something was pulling him toward the deepest part of the bunker, where the hidden archives were stored. Something inside him, some forgotten part of his past, was calling him there. It was as if the truth he sought was buried in the very walls of this place. As he made his way down the hall, the whispers in his mind grew louder, but now they were different. Instead of the alien voices, they were his own. Memories that didn't make sense. Images of a different time. A place he had never been. It was a past he didn't remember, but it felt so real, so familiar. He reached the archive door and punched in the code. The heavy metal doors slid open with a hiss, revealing rows of old files and military equipment. It was here, hidden away, that the truth about the alien species and his connection to them had been locked up for years. He wasn't supposed to know this. No one was. Marcus walked down the rows of files, his fingers grazing over the old documents, until one file caught his eye. It was labeled Project Genesis. The name sent a shiver down his spine. It was a project that had been deemed too dangerous to continue, abandoned years before the alien invasion began. But as he opened the file, Marcus realized that this was more than just a military project. It was the origin of the alien species. The documents revealed a horrifying truth. The aliens had once been human, or rather, they were created from human DNA. The ancient race that had experimented on humanity had spliced their genes with alien DNA, transforming them into the hive mind. But what shocked Marcus even more was the fact that the hive mind wasn't a separate entity. It was a collective consciousness of all the humans that had been altered by the ancient race. They weren't mindless monsters. They were people who had once lived, loved, and fought just like him. The records went further, detailing how the alien species had been created with the purpose of evolving, expanding, and taking over other worlds. But the project had been abandoned when the race that had created them realized the danger of what they had unleashed. They had thought they destroyed all traces of their creation. But now, Marcus knew better. The aliens were still out there, and they were still evolving. And then came the bombshell. A file titled The Prophecy was hidden near the back of the archives, buried under years of dust. Inside, Marcus found details that made his blood run cold. The prophecy spoke of a being, a human, who would hold the key to destroying the alien species. This being, the record stated, would be marked by the DNA of both humanity and the alien race, a hybrid. And Marcus realized, with a sinking feeling in his stomach, that the prophecy was talking about him. He wasn't just a soldier. He wasn't just a weapon. He was the key to ending the war, if he could unlock the power within him. But that power came at a cost. He had already started to lose his humanity, slipping further away from the person he once was. The more he embraced the alien abilities within him, the more distant his own identity became. Every time he used the power, he felt like a piece of himself was torn away. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, bringing Marcus back to the present. He snapped the file shut and turned toward the door. Someone was coming. He wasn't alone anymore. The door to the archive slid open, and a figure stepped into the room. Marcus froze, his hand instinctively reaching for his weapon. The figure was familiar, too familiar. "Marcus," the voice said, and Marcus's blood ran cold. He knew that voice. He had heard it once, long ago. It was the voice of someone from his past, someone he thought he had lost. The figure stepped into the light, and Marcus's eyes widened. It was a woman, tall and regal, with eyes that glowed with the same strange energy Marcus had been feeling. She was wearing the uniform of an old military faction, one that had been long disbanded. She was older than Marcus remembered, but there was no mistaking it. This was Dr. Eleanor Hart, the woman who had once been his mentor. "Dr. Hart," Marcus asked, his voice hoarse. How are you here?" Dr. Hart gave a small, sad smile. "I've been watching you, Marcus. I knew you would come here eventually." Marcus's heart pounded in his chest. What is this? What's happening? Why am I connected to the aliens? She stepped closer, her eyes scanning the room before locking onto Marcus. "You've been part of this from the beginning. The alien invasion, the hive mind, the prophecy, it was all planned long before you were born. Your DNA holds the secret to their downfall. But you are not just a weapon. You are something more, something the aliens never anticipated." Marcus's mind raced. "What are you saying? How can I stop them?" Dr. Hart's expression grew serious. "You're the key, Marcus, but you have to unlock the power within you. The problem is, once you do, there will be no turning back. You'll either save humanity, or you'll become part of the hive yourself." Marcus stared at her, his mind a whirlwind of questions. He didn't know if he was ready for this. He didn't know if he could handle it. But one thing was certain, he had no choice. Before Marcus could ask anything more, Dr. Hart's eyes hardened. "There's more you need to know. But first, we have to stop the invasion." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small device, pressing a button on it. The screen flickered to life, revealing a map of the alien fleet. "They're coming for Earth, and you're the only one who can stop them." Marcus nodded, feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders. He didn't know how he was going to do it, but he knew one thing for sure. He had to try. Marcus stood in the middle of the battlefield, his eyes scanning the wreckage of the alien forces he had just decimated. The air was thick with smoke, and the ground beneath his boots still trembled from the force of the explosions. His heart beat faster, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The mission had been a success, another victory for humanity. But as the smoke cleared, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He felt different. Every time he used his powers, it was like a piece of his humanity slipped further away. He had been trained to be a soldier, to fight for his people, but the abilities coursing through him were changing everything. He no longer felt like the man he once was. He could feel the alien presence within him, gnawing at the edges of his mind, whispering in his thoughts. It was becoming harder to tell where Marcus Vorn ended and where the alien influence began. The military had praised him for his success. His missions had been flawless, his powers giving him an edge that no one else could replicate. But with each victory, the pressure on him grew. The generals and commanders, desperate to turn the tide of the war, kept pushing him further, asking for more, demanding that he use his abilities to their fullest potential. They didn't care what it was doing to him. They only cared about winning. Marcus had tried to fight back. He had tried to resist. But now, with every mission, he could feel his mind slipping. His control over his powers was slipping too. He could no longer deny that the alien mind inside him was starting to take over. In the quiet moments, when he was alone, the voices would come. "Join us," they whispered. "We are many. Together, we are one. You are one of us." It wasn't the first time he'd heard these words. In fact, they had been growing stronger, more persistent. The alien hive mind was calling to him, offering him a place among them. They promised him power, unimaginable power, if he joined their collective. They promised that he could end the war, that he could have everything he ever wanted. But at what cost? Every time he thought about it, Marcus felt a cold shiver run down his spine. He had always known that his abilities were tied to the hive, that he was somehow linked to them. But he had never fully understood the extent of the price he would have to pay. "Join us," the voices urge. "You will be stronger. You will be immortal. The hive is endless. Together, we can defeat your enemies, reshape the universe. You will be our king." Marcus clenched his fists, trying to block out the voices. He couldn't let them win. He couldn't become like them. He was human. He had to stay human. He had to stay true to himself. But as the days passed, the line between man and alien became more and more blurred. It was getting harder to hold on to who he was. He had been given everything: power, strength, the ability to destroy whole swarms of the alien invaders with a single thought. He had been transformed into a weapon, a perfect weapon, designed to fight and to conquer. But with every victory, Marcus felt more and more hollow. The cost of his power was beginning to weigh on him, and he was no longer sure if he could afford it. He remembered the faces of the soldiers he had fought alongside. They had looked to him for guidance, for strength. But now, with the alien influence growing inside him, he couldn't even trust himself. How could he lead them when he didn't even know who he was anymore? The visions started again. He saw himself standing in front of a massive, swirling black void. It was the hive mind, stretching out in all directions, its tendrils reaching for him. It offered him everything: power, control, immortality. All he had to do was surrender. The voice came again, this time louder, more insistent. "You can have everything, Marcus. All we ask is your mind, your soul. You will be one with us. You will be our king." But the thought of it terrified him. He didn't want to become like them. He didn't want to lose himself completely. He had fought for so long, sacrificed so much. How could he throw it all away now? The visions intensified, and Marcus fell to his knees, clutching his head in pain. His body trembled, and for a moment, he thought he might collapse. The alien presence was pressing in from all sides, trying to consume him, to make him one of them. He gasped for air, his heart racing. He needed to fight back. He had to keep fighting. The door to his quarters slammed open, and Captain Rhea stood in the doorway, her face pale with worry. "Marcus," she shouted, rushing to his side. "What's happening? You're losing control. You need to stop this." Marcus looked up at her, his eyes filled with confusion and fear. He couldn't understand it. He didn't know if he was still the man he once was. "I don't know, Rhea," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I don't know how much longer I can hold on." Rhea's face softened with concern, but she didn't step back. "You're stronger than this, Marcus. You can fight it. You can fight them." But Marcus wasn't so sure anymore. The alien voice was inside him, pulling him in. Every moment that passed, it was getting harder to tell what was real, what was him, and what was the hive. He pushed himself to his feet, but his legs felt weak beneath him. He wanted to fight, wanted to resist, but the pull of the hive was overwhelming. He could feel it, tugging at the edges of his mind, growing stronger with each passing second. And then, in the back of his mind, he heard it again. "Join us, Marcus. You belong with us. Let go of your humanity. Let go of your pain. You will be free." His hand shook as he reached for his weapon. He had to end this. He had to stop the voices, stop the alien influence, before it was too late. But as he raised his weapon, he heard one final whisper from the hive. "You are already one of us." Marcus's hand trembled as he aimed the weapon. He wasn't sure if he was still fighting for humanity, or if he was fighting against himself. The voices in his head grew louder, drowning out everything else. In that moment, Marcus was no longer sure who the enemy was. Was it the aliens, or was it the darkness within himself? The sky above Earth's capital city was torn apart by alien ships, their massive forms blotting out the sun. Marcus stood at the edge of the battlefield, watching as the enemy forces descended, ready to obliterate the last bastion of humanity's resistance. The air was thick with tension, the final battle of the war upon them. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind racing. This was it, the endgame. The military had gathered its remaining forces for one last stand. But Marcus knew this fight would be different. The power within him, the power he had gained from the alien hive, was now both a blessing and a curse. He had become more than human, but with each passing moment, it felt as though he was losing everything that made him who he was. The voices had not stopped. They never stopped. They were inside his head, always whispering, always urging him to join them. He was no longer sure if they were trying to save him or if they were trying to consume him completely. The alien presence had become a constant part of his life, his thoughts, his very soul. It was like a shadow, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to take control. But in this final hour, Marcus had to make a choice. He could not keep fighting both the alien forces and the voices inside his mind. He had to decide what mattered most, humanity or the hive. His DNA held the key to both, but it also held the power to destroy everything. As the alien ships continued their descent, Marcus found himself in the ruins of an ancient military facility, buried deep beneath the Earth's surface. The walls were cracked and scorched, remnants of battles long past. This place, hidden from the rest of humanity, had been kept secret for generations. It was here that Marcus discovered the truth about the ancient race that had created the hive. The records were vague, fragmented, but the message was clear. The alien species had not been born of nature. They had been created by an ancient race, one that had experimented with human DNA. This race had merged human and alien consciousness in a failed attempt to create a super-intelligent collective mind. But the experiment had gone horribly wrong. The result was the hive, a monstrous, ever-evolving entity that consumed everything in its path. And Marcus, with his altered DNA, was the key to ending it. But the cost was unimaginable. The voices inside his head were growing louder, more demanding. They whispered promises of power, promises of a future where he would rule alongside the hive. They offered him a way to destroy them all, to wipe out the alien forces forever. But Marcus knew that in doing so, he would also destroy everything humanity had fought for. The aliens might be wiped from existence, but Earth would be left in ruins. He walked deeper into the facility, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He was alone, except for the voices in his mind. The whispers had taken on a new tone now, more urgent, more insistent. "You know what must be done, Marcus," they said. "You hold the key. With your blood, we can be reborn. The war will end, and you will be our king. Humanity will be nothing more than a memory, a forgotten relic." But Marcus shook his head. He couldn't, he wouldn't let that happen. The thought of wiping out an entire species, even one as destructive as the aliens, felt wrong. He had seen the faces of the soldiers he had fought alongside. He had seen their hope, their fear. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for a future that they believed in. But then, something unexpected happened. The ancient records revealed a hidden truth. Marcus's DNA was not just the key to defeating the aliens. It was the key to resurrecting them. The moment he discovered this, everything shifted. The aliens were not a mindless swarm. They were a species, transformed, yes, but still capable of evolution, of change. The hive mind was not just a collection of individual minds. It was a vast, interconnected consciousness that could, with time, merge with humanity. Marcus realized that the final choice before him was not just about wiping out the alien species or saving humanity. It was about something much deeper, about the future of both species and whether they could coexist, evolve together. He could destroy the hive, yes. He could wipe them all out. But in doing so, he would also erase the possibility of something new, something that could change the universe forever. Humanity and the aliens could merge, creating a new race, one that was stronger, wiser, and more capable of overcoming the challenges of the universe. But this would require a sacrifice, a complete loss of everything Marcus had ever known. He could join the hive. He could allow the two consciousnesses to merge, allowing humanity to evolve into something greater. The alien mind would be forever intertwined with his own, and the war would end. But in doing so, he would lose his individuality. He would lose his humanity. Marcus stood there, alone in the ruins, staring at the broken walls around him. The alien ships above Earth's capital were already beginning their final assault. Time was running out. He felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The voices in his head were louder now, their promises of power more tempting than ever. They spoke of a future where he was not just a soldier but a ruler, a god. They spoke of an end to the war, an end to the suffering. But at what cost? His thoughts were interrupted by a sudden flash of light. A figure appeared before him, a familiar face from his past. It was Dr. Kayla Voss, the scientist who had first discovered the connection between Marcus's DNA and the alien species. She had been lost in the chaos of the war, but now she stood before him, her eyes filled with knowledge. "You don't have to make this choice alone, Marcus," she said softly. "There is another way." Marcus blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" Dr. Voss stepped forward, her voice steady. "The hive isn't just a mindless force. It's evolving. It can be reprogrammed, reshaped. If you can tap into the right part of your DNA, you can rewrite the hive's code. You can save both humanity and the aliens without destroying either." Marcus looked at her, unsure. "And the cost?" "The cost is everything," Dr. Voss said. "You will have to give up your identity, your humanity. You will become something else, something new." The voices in Marcus's head screamed, demanding he join them, end the war, and take control. But Dr. Voss's words offered a glimmer of hope, a possibility of salvation for both sides. Marcus stood at the edge, his mind torn between the promise of power and the hope for a peaceful future. As the alien ships began to descend upon Earth's capital, he realized that he had one final decision to make. Would he sacrifice everything to save humanity and the alien species, or would he give in to the darkness inside him and end it all? The final hour had arrived. The ground shook as the final battle erupted above Earth's capital. The skies were filled with alien ships, their weapons locked and ready to obliterate everything in their path. The last remaining military forces on Earth were stretched thin, fighting against the swarm of invaders. Marcus Vorn stood at the heart of the chaos, his body now a living weapon, his mind more alien than human. In the midst of the battle, Marcus's thoughts were clear. This was the moment that would decide the fate of humanity. The war had raged for years, with humanity on the brink of annihilation. The alien hive mind had spread like wildfire, consuming everything in its path. Earth's defenses were crumbling. But Marcus had become something more than human. He was the key to ending it, but at what cost? His new abilities, forged from the very DNA that connected him to the alien species, had allowed him to lead countless assaults. Yet, as he gazed at the alien mothership above, the reality of his transformation hit him hard. Every day, every battle, every mission he had survived chipped away at the remnants of his humanity, his body, his mind. Everything about him had been altered. The time had come for Marcus to face the truth. The alien forces were no longer the faceless invaders they had once been. They were something far more personal. The leader of the Hive, the one who controlled everything, was not some unknown alien. It was another version of himself, a clone born from his own blood, created by the ancient race that had experimented with human DNA. His reflection in the Hive was not just a threat. It was a twisted version of himself. Standing on the battlefield, Marcus's eyes locked with his counterpart. The alien leader, his doppelganger, looked at him with cold, calculating eyes. This was not just the final battle. This was the moment of reckoning. His own bloodline had been chosen to bridge the gap between humanity and the aliens. The Hive had always known this. It had been their plan from the very beginning. Marcus had been the catalyst, the one who would either destroy them all or save both species. The alien version of Marcus stepped forward, its voice echoing in Marcus's mind. "You are the key, Marcus. You are what we need to evolve. You cannot stop this. You cannot fight your destiny." Marcus's fists clenched. He had already fought so hard, fought against the alien mind inside him, fought for his humanity, fought for the survival of Earth. But now, standing before the creature that mirrored him, he realized that the final choice was inevitable. The alien Hive was too powerful, too vast. To defeat it, he would have to become something else entirely. The truth was clear. He had to merge with the Hive. To destroy it from within, to reshape the future, Marcus had to sacrifice everything that made him human. The power that surged through him, the alien abilities that had altered his very DNA, would be the key to ending the war. But the price was unimaginable. By merging with the Hive, he would lose himself entirely. He would become the leader of a new hybrid species, a species that was neither fully human nor fully alien. He would be the bridge, the one to lead both races into the future. Marcus stared at the alien version of himself, now mere feet away. The final choice was in his hands. He could continue to fight, to try and hold on to his humanity, but that would only prolong the war and the destruction. Or he could make the ultimate sacrifice, becoming something greater, something that could save both species, but at the cost of everything he had ever known. The voice of the alien counterpart echoed in his mind once more. "You were always meant to lead us, Marcus. Humanity cannot survive without us, and we cannot survive without you." Marcus's mind raced. Every memory, every moment, every relationship he had ever known flashed before his eyes. His family, his friends, his fellow soldiers, all the people he had fought to protect. He had always believed that humanity was worth saving. But what was the price of that salvation? The final answer came to him, not as a thought, but as a deep, unshakable truth. The war was not just about defeating the alien forces. It was about understanding them, about accepting that the future of both species was intertwined. Humanity could not survive alone, and neither could the aliens. To ensure the survival of both, they had to merge. But to do that, he would have to lose everything: his past, his identity, his humanity. With a heavy heart, Marcus made the decision. He stepped forward, his body trembling as he reached out to the alien leader. The transformation began instantly. His body pulsed with energy, his mind overloaded with new thoughts, new consciousnesses. His human form dissolved, replaced by something far more powerful, far more alien. The merge was complete. Marcus no longer existed as he once was. He was now something else, something greater, yet tragically different. The Hive was no longer a mindless entity. It was a new beginning, a hybrid consciousness that carried the best of both species. But as Marcus stood on the battlefield, now transformed, he saw the destruction around him. Earth's cities were in ruins. The war was over, but at a great cost. The final battle had been won, but humanity had lost much in the process. Looking out over the ruins of Earth, Marcus knew that the future was no longer the one he had once envisioned. It was a future shaped by sacrifice, by change, and by the merging of two species. He was no longer human, but he was something new, something born of both the stars and the Earth. As the first signs of recovery began to appear on Earth's surface, Marcus, now the leader of the new hybrid race, left behind a message for humanity. It was a message of hope, but also a warning. The world they had known was gone, and a new age had begun. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. We are the future, and the future is between the stars. Ending. As Marcus watched Earth heal, he realized that the cost of salvation was not just the destruction of the old world, but the birth of a new one. A world where humanity and aliens were one. A world where nothing would ever be the same again.